Today, I want to start with something that I've never talked about before. In fact, I think there's no Chinese teacher who has ever mentioned this before. I just got the feedback that lesson 10 has become too overwhelming to follow. And when I went through the characters, I realized one thing. No one, really no one, has ever thought of telling the people who are learning Chinese this one thing that we all know as Chinese native speakers. Remember how I emphasized that pinyin is the part where you cannot allow any mistakes? Well, apparently, what I forgot to mention or I did not emphasize enough is that characters are the part where you can make mistakes. In fact, making mistakes will become part of your life when you start to learn Chinese characters, and this should be fine. Because in the future, you will learn a lot more new sentences, and I will reuse these characters over and over again. So you will encounter these characters over and over again, and eventually you will remember them. So for today and for lesson 10, how about we set a goal, 30%, and that should be fine.
Pinyin needs to be 100% correct because one wrong letter could lead to completely different characters and combinations.
You see, pinyin is easy. And pinyin without the tones is crazy easy, right? So I do think that 100% correctness is achievable. And if you can't achieve that, the only reason would be you did not invest enough time that is however required to learn the pinyin. But characters? I'd say this is an area where you definitely can make mistakes. Let me tell you something. In Chinese, we have a word called Tongjatsu. This word literally describes characters that are written wrong by the poets and writers in ancient China. No, it's not about a character that is written differently at that time. No, they are really characters that are written wrong at that time, and we invented a word for that. So I do think in China, or in the Chinese culture, it is far more tolerated when you write wrong characters than spelling wrong in the Western countries. And I thought this might be an aspect that you want to know so that you could be less harsh to yourself when you make mistakes. The better your Chinese becomes, the less mistakes you will make. But together, you will exist for a long time.
So the elephant in the room is the fact that wrong characters are part of the Chinese language. 错别字, with a literal translation, wrongly written, mistaken, character, is a real word in Chinese. And it's a common phenomenon. It's more accepted than you think. People correct them when they happen, but people live with them. Let me show you an example of these words. 权利 and 权利. They're pronounced exactly the same, and they're written similarly. 百度百科. Let's call it the Chinese Wikipedia, used English to tell them apart, just to explain what is what. Let me translate part of it. How to differentiate these two words? We can use English to understand. 权利's English is right, and 权利's English is power. Then they explain the definition of right and power. Here you can see, right and power are mistaken so often that they used English to explain more easily. So don't take it too harsh on yourself if you're confused when you learn the characters for the first time. Accept the fact that you will make mistakes, especially with the characters, and that's okay.
So please consider the lessons with the characters as a training that helps you get used to a new reading and writing system. So please don't treat it as a tool to tell if something's right or wrong. It's more about a habit so that you could get used to reading and writing in Chinese. For now, with the characters, it's less about being correct. With all these being clarified now, let's finally get started with today's lesson. In today's video, you're going to learn 18 Chinese words with their characters. You will train yourself so well that you'll be able to recognize, to read, translate these characters from English into Chinese, and then type them into your computer if you've learned lessons 1 to 10. Hi, this is Chi from Deepling, a channel that makes Chinese easy. If you're new here, this is a place where you can learn Chinese as easily as possible and for free. Because I've made it my mission to make Chinese as easy as possible and as available as possible to everyone who wants to learn Chinese. So if you're one of them, if you want to learn Chinese, especially as a beginner, please subscribe and follow me so that you can learn the courses that I publish every week.
This is another lesson that requires previous lessons. I've explained the 2 steps of learning Chinese in my first video, 3 Ultimate Rules. You can watch it later if necessary.
If this is the first video you're watching for my channel, I need to tell you this is not a video to start with. Instead, I suggest that you watch lesson 1 first, because that video is truly a lesson to start with. It is designed for Chinese beginners and it uses a special method. I promise you, you've never seen this method anywhere before. With all these now being clarified, let's dive in.
You've probably figured out this video is similar to Lesson 10 because it's the sequel of Lesson 10. Like we did in Lesson 10, let's start with a quiz to check if you're ready for the lesson today. You don't even need to type. I want you to just speak out loud after me. When you see the English word, you should know what it is in Chinese. For example, you will hear me say time. Then you will say 时间. And you should be so fast that you are able to say it before you hear me say the next English word.
If you can't tell the answers with the speed played in the video, it's a sign that you need to go back to lessons 3 to 9 to review the courses. And please do me a favor. Document for yourself if you got the answers right. Marking for each correct answer a check would be enough. Now, let's finally get started with the quiz.
And if you hardly made any mistakes, let's get started with the characters now.
This is the first time. So this time, it's about recognizing and remembering. Listen to the pronunciation and at the same time, instead of focusing on the phonetic spelling, the pinyin, this time try to focus on how each character looks like.
I will read each word 3 times. For the first time, you will see no pinyin, so you will need to focus on remembering these characters. For the second time, you will see pinyin for a deeper impression how exactly they're pronounced. And for the third time again, without pinyin, to see if you can remember their pronunciation.
I heard from other students that they already typed down the characters for the first time when they listened to the pronunciation. And I didn't think this would work, but apparently it worked for them. So you should try it too. And if it works out for you as well, please comment below and let me know so that I can adjust and optimize the course structure for everyone else.
是天蓝山绿水青地球圆苹果欧洲有限真的真衣服 衣服心心心车车车二手二手二手 Now, it's getting a bit more challenging. This time, you will not hear anything. Test yourself. Can you pronounce them all? You will see the characters, but you will not hear the pronunciation. After lessons 1 to 9, I think you've managed to install the pinyin input. So this time, you will check directly if the characters are right. Type these characters directly into Chinese and then compare the characters you typed with the characters shown here.
Now, be prepared. If you set a goal that you want to achieve 100% correctness already for the first try, you probably will fail. And what's more important, that is really an unnecessary goal. Because your only goal is to really remember these characters, also for the long time. And what works for the memory is that you repeat things over and over again, especially when you make mistakes. That's why I sincerely suggest that you take your time, set realistic goals, find your pace, and set these goals with your own capacity. If you have less time today or you're tired today, set a lower goal, 0%. Just watch the video and do nothing. If you are more motivated and energetic today, set a higher goal. The only goal that you should avoid is to achieve 100% correctness already for the first time. It is not necessary to always try to be the best performer ever, all the time. Trust me, I can tell from my own experience. What worked for me in the end, the best way, is to find the final long-term goal, which is be happy with what I learn and be happy with how I learn it. Now it's time for the final move. This time, you will see the Chinese characters first and you will translate them into English. And this time, you will translate them by saying the English word out loud instantly after you've seen the Chinese characters. And you will see the answers right after you've said them. See if you can beat the video speed. If you can, you've truly mastered these characters. And are you happy with what you've just learned and how you learned it? I hope this video helped you gain easier access to the Chinese language. And if you liked it, please subscribe and follow the lessons that I publish every week, because together we can make Chinese easy.